Welcome to the political pulpit once again. In the church of Archbishop Ardern, there's the righteous right, the Gomorrah warning Greens and the agnostic Acts, and in the old evangelist. And hey, faster than you can build an ark, you've got our parliament. But hey, it could be worse. We could be in the UK this week, or Europe, or Florida, or Ukraine. Wait. Let's just relax, take a breath, and examine things in a calm and collective manner. Well, the dollar's crashed against major currencies, which makes imported goods like petrol even more expensive. In Oz, they've taken the subsidy off. Not here, though, till January, if then. So inflation will only get worse, and interest rates will keep defying predictions and keep going up. Government also looking at the polls, the latest of which shows that Labour could be out in a year. Then this week, how inappropriate is Kelvin Davis telling a Maori Act MP, Karen Chor, she basically wasn't Maori enough. He has since apologised after firstly doubling down. The PM saying he was wrong, which may well be why he apologised. Just a guess. Isn't that a sign of total arrogance at a time when Labour are heading in the wrong direction in the polls?
Well, it wasn't helpful with Kelvin Davis's comments, and obviously Karen Shaw took great offence, as she said it impacted on her mana. And so, you can't play that card in that way. I mean, it doesn't do anything to promote the interests around Maoridom and sort of trying to say to a Maori MP that they're not Maori enough. I mean, that's always been accusations that some have thrown at others. If you're talking about the polls, throw that in. One, not the MP at the moment, but former MP, always had that accusation made against him, New Zealand First leader Winston. But maybe just looking at those polls is a suggestion he will be back next year. Yeah, well, everyone's focused on the big numbers for National and Labour, etc. But New Zealand First steady on 3%.
Well, it's not enough.
If you go back and look at pretty much every other election cycle, in the year before the election, New Zealand First generally are not recording 5% or plus. They're normally at that 2-3% mark. As long as they're there, that gives them the opportunity for a surge during election year, which is normally the way the party operates. And Winston Peters has actually been pretty active out there. So look, I wouldn't put it past a result on election night. They talked about the three.
Don't say balance. Don't say he'll hold the balance.
They talked about the three-headed beast or whatever it was of Labour, the Greens, and New Zealand First, 2017 to 2020. There might be another three-headed beast: National, Act, and New Zealand First.
Are you telling me? You're telling me that after what Winston did last time and going with Labour and defying everything, then you're telling me now he'd turn around and go with the Nats? Well,
he's spending all his time now, certainly on social media, Twitter and what have you, following him, slagging off Labour. So, he will always surprise you, and I would never rule him or New Zealand First out.
I didn't want to talk about Winston.
Well,
is Kelvin Davis being arrogant?
Oh, I'm not sure about being arrogant. But,
Well, if it wasn't arrogance leading up to, 12 months out from the election, what is it?
Well, it was stupid and it was out of place. It's not the sort of attack that you'd want to make on any politician, really. It was personal in a sense. And so...
Was he told to apologise?
Well, it took him over a day. So you have a suggestion that maybe there was, a message to him, look, you've got to clear this up, apologise for that comment.
Yeah. Winston, really? Winston, really coming back?
Wouldn't rule it out, Grant. You heard it here first.
Oh, yeah. All right. The new insurance scheme the government intends going ahead with. Well, that won't help Brent either, will it?
No. Look, and a lot of people have been talking about, the government sneaking it through and what have you, but let's remember this was an idea brought to government.
Don't bring up Business New Zealand supporting it. No.
And the Council of Trade Unions. And actually, if you go back to early this year, Business New Zealand Chief Executive
I said don't bring it up.
Kirk Hope said, and he urged the National Party not to play politics with this issue. But, of course, it is.
So you're telling me Grant Robertson is going to blame Business New Zealand when he puts it through? Because he will.
No, he won't. But all I'm saying is it's not simply Labour's idea. But what I can't understand is, given the circumstances, why they are pushing it through now. The timing sucks. And I've seen some Labour supporters, attacking National for calling it a jobs tax. Well, of course it's a
Well,
tax.
it is a jobs tax.
I mean, it is a tax. I mean, we're all going to end up.
Most people
paying.
don't actually understand that what they're doing is they're going to take 1% out of your wages, out of your spending money, and put it into this fund.
Yeah.
It's like compulsory. It's like compulsory super.
Well,
but you don't get it back unless you lose your job.
We're all going to be paying more money.
Well, I can tell you what now. I worked out. I reckon you're going to lose in your hand $2,000 a year.
Maybe. I'm not sure if you.
Well, I'm sure. I worked it out.
But we're all going to pay more, and in that sense, it is a tax. And at a time when we still face a cost of living crisis or high inflation, and I don't think it's going to be completely battered down by the time this tax will come into effect, it just does seem wrong. And given Labor had promised no new taxes this term, I mean, if it went into the election campaign saying this was its policy, okay, fair enough, it can go to the electorate. But
Grant Robertson said it will be in before the next election.
Well, it'll be, I think, legislated for. I'm not sure that it won't come into effect till afterwards. So that gives an opportunity, if a new government is elected, for them to then scrap it. And so it probably will become quite a significant, one of the political issues in the campaign.
One of the very many. Right, speaking of businesses have been battered, haven't they? COVID, extra holidays, wage increases, high inflation, increased charges, and now, here we go, the CTU wanting a 4-day working week. And let me guess, I bet they want people to stay on the current pay that they're on, though, don't
sorry,
they?
this is day 5. I wasn't meant to be here.
Oh, benefits already. Okay.
Look, they've thrown it up as an idea, and I think,
Well,
they've said let's debate it. So,
okay, no.
Well,
debate over.
There's some companies that are talking about 4-day weeks. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. It's probably unlikely to anything to come from it, but there may be some.
What does Michael Wood say on this?
Well, I mean,
He's a union man.
Yeah, but it's not a government initiative, and they haven't picked it up. And
what's he saying on it?
I haven't seen what Michael Wood has said on it, actually. It's just an idea that's been raised by the CTU in a discussion document. So it goes no further than that at the moment. Put it this way, you don't have to worry, we won't have a 4-day working week implemented by the time of the next election.
Well, will it be by the time I retire? Hey, I can hear businesses sighing from here, though. Yeah, they'll be saying these words, here we go again. Another attack on poor old businesses.
Well,
I mean, if one added public holiday adds $350 million to businesses can cost, or $400 million, what's an extra day off going to do?
Yeah, I guess it will depend. I haven't seen the detail of it as to, well, what's the pay rate? Do you get the same
Well, the
pay for 4
CTU
days
wouldn't be suggesting it if you got less, would they?
Well, yeah. Some organisations, for instance, people work longer hours a day. They do a 4-day week, but they might work 10 hours a day. Those sorts of things. But they get a 3-day weekend, and that's the sort of
but that's still 40 hours a week, isn't
trade up. Yeah. So, but for others, if you look across at Europe, when you're talking about Europe, I mean, I'm not sure that many people there work a 40-hour week.
Yeah, but they never have. They have siestas and things like that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe that's why it's in so much trouble.
Change the subject there. Chris Bishop, in an interview this week, said when Labor came into power, the government was spending $100,000 a day on emergency housing, which was disgraceful according to Labor. Well, now it's $1 million a day. He was asked what he would do about it. So the question here is Bishop channeling Phil Twyford when he says we have to build more houses. He says, and I'm quoting here, we will build enough state and social housing so there is no social housing wait list. Have the Nats learnt nothing from making promises?
Yeah, I heard that interview, and it was quite an exceptional thing that he said. I'm not sure he realised what he was saying, because if you take what he said forward, then the commitment is that they're going to put billions into building state houses. And the point he keeps on making, and he puts out repeated press statements about this, is that the government hasn't built enough new houses, and he questions the numbers they put up, because the government says it's built 10,000 new state houses. That's actually how many new state houses there are in terms of that have been added to the state housing list, but not all of them are new builds. And a fair number of them are houses they've bought off existing home. Yeah. So, but he's that comment. I mean, I think that that possibly could come back to bite him at some point in the future. When
Well, he didn't give a timeline, though, did he?
Well, maybe not. But if he's Minister of Housing at some time in the future, and new house builds from Kaingaora are still sort of going slowly up, I think there'll be a few people who will bring him back to the comment he made in that interview.
I totally agree. All right, so what is happening next week? Well, the financial statements for the government for the full financial year are coming out. What are we going to see?
Oh, look,
and by the way, I will take your prediction over any of the commentators anytime because they're always wrong.
Well, it's relatively because we've already seen the interim statements for the 11 months of that year, and in those statements, the deficit, which excludes investment gains and losses, etc. OBGAL, lovely name. That was $5.5 billion better than expected because the tax take was up, I think about $2.9 billion higher than expected, and spending was down. And in those results, the Treasury said they expected most of that to flow through to the end of the year. So I think you'll see in these numbers a better than expected outturn based on what was forecast at the beginning of the financial year, but still in deficit. And what will be interesting, given all of the economic buffeting, though, is what will Treasury say and what will the Finance Minister, Grant Robertson, say about what things
crow.
But what will things look like in next year, the year after, the year after that,
Here's
whether that will look as good as it did.
He'll crow, but it won't make petrol any cheaper, will it? Well, that's Beehive Bandit for another week. Every week, Brent, something seems to grab the headlines. We're going from one thing to another. Maybe it's the government taking a leaf out of Trump's playbook. Keeps things happening so fast you don't have time to digest one thing before something else happens, and I hope we have short memories. Do we? We've got short memories?
People do have short memories.
Yeah, there we go. That's Beehive Bandit for another week. Did I just say that? All right. Anyway, I appreciate the fact that you are watching or listening. We do appreciate you taking the time. We'll catch you next time. Did I say that? Did I say that thing twice?